Watching Republic.
Hi there, welcome back to this Sunday edition of This Is Exclusive, in which we are going to focus on two very important stories, the ones where Republic coverage has had an impact. One, of course, the Aravalli Hills and the kind of illegal mining that's been going on, and the Kuldeep Singh Sengar bail. In both the cases, the topmost court of the country, Supreme Court, is taking up the appeals, and in one case, in fact, in the Aravalli case, suo motu hearing as to whether it needs to review the earlier verdict of the Supreme Court itself. And I'm going to get you exclusive elements, both from the ground on Aravalli and an activist on the Kuldeep Sengar case joining us, who's supporting the victim. Let's begin with the headlines. A direct impact of Republic campaign. Supreme Court takes up Aravalli case suo motu. The CJI-led bench to hear the case on Monday, that's tomorrow. The SC also could take a relook at Aravalli definition, a big victory for the people. Republic welcomes the court decision. The topmost court also takes up Aravalli matter suo motu. Following nationwide public campaign, all eyes on the Supreme Court on Monday. The SC to also hear CBI's appeal against suspension of life sentence granted to Kuldeep Singh Sengar on Monday. All right, friends, before we go to the ground for our Aravalli coverage and bring to you some exclusive pictures and footage of the kind of illegal activities that are going on there, still, just a day before the Supreme Court suo motu takes over a review of its earlier judgment, we have, in fact, an activist who's going to join us on the Kuldeep Singh Sengar case. Remember, protests had erupted across the country, not just in Delhi, in support of the victim of rape, and former BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar is an accused. This is the Unnao rape case. The CBI, in fact, has now filed an appeal challenging the Delhi High Court order of granting conditional bail to Kuldeep Sengar. And there are some other petitioners joining in. We are going to get in Yogita Bhayana live. She's an activist who's been supporting the victim and her family, in fact, standing by them as they continue to protest, first outside the Delhi High Court, then at the India Gate. And that really, remember, is the travesty that a victim of rape and a victim of a strongman has to go through this just because on technicalities and taking a very technical view of the situation of the case. The Delhi High Court granted bail to Kuldeep Singh Sengar, the agency, the investigation agency itself challenging the order and of suspension of life sentence of the expelled BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar in the Unnao rape case. We're going to be joined in by Yogita Bhayana in just a bit. But before that, let's listen to exactly what she had to say earlier on the issue of appeal that's going to come up tomorrow before the Supreme Court.
मुझे लगता है कि अगर उनकी तबीयत स्टेबल हो गई तो वो घर जाएंगे, और अगर लगा कि नहीं ज़्यादा ख़राब है तो हम अस्पताल जाएंगे। अभी नहीं पता, अभी हमें उनको भी दोनों फेंट हो गई, मम्मी भी उसकी फेंट हो गई और माँ और बेटी दोनों फेंट हो गए। अभी थोड़ा सा बैठने के बाद थोड़ा बेटर फील कर रहे हैं, तो अभी हम पीछे जाएंगे, हमें समझ में आएगा कि उनको क्या हुआ। उनकी माता जी तो बीमार रहती हैं, उन बेटी भी फेंट हो गई थी अभी, क्योंकि अभी मतलब विक्टिम पीड़िता, क्योंकि 4-5 दिन में उनके साथ जो हुआ है ना, वो थोड़ा सा उनके लिए अब आप देख सकते हैं ओवरवेलमिंग था। और यहाँ पर भी धूप में बैठे रहे काफ़ी देर, हो सकता है उनको और दिमागी रूप से तो वो आहत है ही, और आप सोच सकते हैं कि इतने दिन की संघर्ष चल रही है, उनकी सालों की संघर्ष है, पर 4 दिन से वो लगातार सोए नहीं है, खाया नहीं है ढंग से, तो इस चक्कर में भी हो सकता है उनको कुछ तबीयत खराब हो गई हो।
All right, Yogita there live with us now. Yogita, in that soundbite, you were mentioning about the health condition of both the victim and her mother. Are they in good condition to be there when the Supreme Court takes up the appeal?
Yes, they were fine after a while, because I think after they could manage to gather themselves. However, they're not that sound, but they want to be there tomorrow, and hopefully the judgment will be revoked, and this girl will get justice, and the bail will be rejected from Supreme Court.
All right, all eyes there on the Supreme Court tomorrow. Yogita, I believe you would also be there. Please tell us, what are the grounds on which the CBI has challenged this Delhi High Court order?
See, we would not know the details because it's CBI, and we would only get to know once, tomorrow, once it is filed, in terms of it is being considered. However, we are very much sure that they would have done a better job this time, because there were a lot of loopholes earlier, and there were a lot of loose ends rather. So I think they must have done a good job this time, but I'm not sure about the details what they have written to Supreme Court.
The kind of outrage that's there across the country, Yogita, in this case, the Delhi High Court really taking a very technical view of such a challenging situation that the victim faces. You have been, taking care of the victim and the family, and, speaking to them. What's your sense? Are they confident? Are they still hopeful? Or they're clutching to their straws and hoping that the Supreme Court really takes a different view from what the Delhi High Court has done?
Very much hopeful. After all the support we are getting from media, after we are getting support from the people, the outrage the public has, especially the women of the country, I think Supreme Court might do justice to his daughter, and we are very much hopeful for that.
Okay, and are you aware who else is supporting this appeal? Are there some other petitions in support of the victim?
I got to know there are a couple of advocates who have filed in their individual capacity, and we are also going ahead as the victim herself will be going to the courts through her advocate. That is also there. But right now, what we are depending on is this thing filed by CBI. So let's see what we get to hear, or maybe they will club all the petitioners. I'm not pretty sure right now about the Supreme Court, but as of now, multiple people are going to the courts.
Yogita, also multiple times we have heard the victim and her mother mention about the threat to their lives and the threat perception that is there in case this very powerful strongman and leader from Unnao really comes out. Though of course, in the immediate instance, he is not coming out. There is already another conviction for which he is serving the jail term. But the fact of the matter is that he's a strong man. The reason why the victim and the family had to move out of Unnao and be in Delhi. The High Court order says that there are conditions which sort of protect the victim, but that sense of protection we have not seen in the kind of reactions that have come in from the victim and the family.
So they have given her security. The victim herself has a security, but her husband, her children, her mother, and other 4 siblings, they don't have protection. So what she's asking is protection for everyone, and which is valid, because her aunts were killed. There were multiple issues where there were constant threats. Her husband was beaten up last month. So there is a constant sense of fear in her mind, which is a legitimate one, and she has gone through so much, and that's the reason she wants a security cover for entire family.
Okay, and there is a separate petition filed by advocates Anjali Patel and Pooja Shilpkar. You think that really strengthens the case of the victim?
See, they have filed, which is a welcome move. People should definitely wake up, to the reality and do something about it, whether legally or on roads. However, I genuinely want to kind of pray that it should not dilute the thing, or rather it should strengthen that. Technically, legally, I would not know. However, I think Supreme Court is going to club all these matters, but unless they know the details, unless they know the victim and understand what she's gone through, unless they really get into it, mere for formality, if they have done it, it will damage the case. But if they are genuine about it, they should have met the victim. So far they have not. Merely on the basis of documents, if they file, let's see if how Supreme Court takes it up. So I'm not able to right now say about that. But yes, everybody is willing to is coming to support, and be with the victim itself is a big deal.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's a good
Yogita,
sign.
stay with us. I'll come back to you for one final question. But before that, I'm told Branda Adige, one of the women's rights activists, has also joined us over the phone. Branda Adige, uh, it seemed like miscarriage of justice, so to say, in the Delhi High Court order. You think that tomorrow there is an opportunity when the Supreme Court under the Chief Justice of India really takes up the matter and the CBI appeal and hears this case and the Unnao rape victims appeal?
Absolutely. It is not just an opportunity. It is something that is expected of the court, because all of us know courts are our last resort. There is nowhere else that we can go for justice, especially in a case that is so severe and serious. You're looking at the survivor who has been fighting this case, and we know the Unnao case has been one of the most brutal, where she lost her father, she lost her uncle, two of her aunts, and she has, even today, she says that I did not commit suicide because I was thinking of my children. Now, if these are not issues that the court is looking at, what will the court look at? The court gave a very, very flimsy response and an argument to saying why that Sengar guy should be let out. And that is unacceptable, because you and I know that the letter and the spirit of the law has not been upheld by whoever it was that gave that order. So it is important that the Supreme Court look into it. We are not saying that you be charitable and you be kind to the survivor. Her constitutional guarantees must be upheld by the court. And if it is going to be just that the court is going to look at it seriously only when the survivor and her supporters are on the street, can you imagine what a plight it is for the rest of the other people who are fighting similar cases across India? And that is why Supreme Court's interference, if I may use that word, in this particular case and taking it to a due conclusion where the rights are upheld is very, very important.
I mean, Yogita, and the fact of the matter is, had it not been for the kind of activism we have seen coming in with a kind of, taking cudgels on behalf of the victim, it's likely that this would have led to perhaps the release of the accused and some real threat to the victim as well.
Yes, that's what exactly we are saying, that why we have to be protesting and taking that role of activism for each and every victim. Why can't on autopilot mode we can get justice for all the daughters of the country? Why can't we have justice for Ankita Bhandari and other girls who are suffering and never got justice? So this is, we have limitation even to agitate, we can't be on every day on streets. So for this girl, definitely she was associated with us, she was in touch with us, so I could reach out to her. I could guide her in terms of this is how we are supposed to go. But in how many cases one can be around? So that's what the agony is, that when she was in High Court, she was all alone. There was not even a single person, not even her lawyers were with her. So when she was constantly crying for what happened to her, she didn't even know that, because she could not understand English order. So that's the reason she kept calling. And when we tried to tell her that this is exactly is happening, that time she almost fainted. And because we've been supporting her, I was also in shock. And this was not done. So we didn't know what to do, and we sat on the dharna. So, but for how many victims one can do that? So why can't we just get justice on that natural way,
Absolutely. In fact, it was such a technical ground that the Delhi High Court took, saying that the sentence could be suspended because he has already served substantial period of time in jail. The nation is watching as the topmost court of the country takes up the appeal filed by the CBI and some others in support of the Unnao rape victim. Thank you so much, Yogita Bhayana, for joining us. We hope you will be joining us back tomorrow again when the hearing takes place. Moving on for now, the other story which we are focusing on, again coming up in the Supreme Court tomorrow, the review of the Aravali case verdict that the Supreme Court is taking up suo motu. But Republic, remember, uncovered a fresh case of illegal mining in the ranges in Rajasthan, and that's dangerously close to an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar, close to Mount Abu. Republic reporter Aravali, who was there on the ground, found vast stretches of barren and excavated land, discolored water in the river basin, allegedly due to the blasting, chemicals used and dumped, and fresh tractor tracks pointing to recent illegal activity. Despite strict environmental regulations, mining appears to be taking place in broad daylight, with the stones extracted and swiftly transported before authorities arrive. We are getting you this very exclusive ground report that exposes not just environmental damage, but a serious lapse in enforcement, threatening one of India's oldest and most fragile mountain ranges. This is just a day before the Supreme Court takes up the review. Take a look.
Across the border of this mining zone, no stone is to be found. Color of this water is such because of the chemicals which are used to blast in these mines. These are totally illegal. They started vacating the place. We saw some tractors moving around which were far, and that's why we could not capture it in the video. But we can see this wheel track is very fresh. These are the fresh visuals, and this is how there are several such pits across the region.
This illegal mining site is located just a few kilometers from an eco-sensitive zone near the sacred Guru Shikhar in Rajasthan.
And if we see in the front, the entire Aravali range, that is protected because it's the eco-sensitive zone. But through our visuals, we can see just few kilometers away from the eco-sensitive zone, which is preserved, and very strict rules are observed over there. This is the situation right near the same Aravali range. These were also few feet mountains, hills, which are totally vanished. They are excavated. They have been illegally mining different sorts of material. We can see through the visuals, the stones are being collected. There's this path from where the tractors and the dumpers travel upside and take away the sand, stones, cement, the raw material which is required to make all the construction materials. All of that is illegally mined from this area.
Despite strict regulations, the land you see on your screen is completely barren, with a few stones lying around, perhaps about to be loaded on the tractors. The same tractors that just vanished. This is still an eco-sensitive zone, right next to the sacred peak, one of the highest in the Aravallis. So how do these fraudsters manage to do such damage in yawning broad daylight? Hear it directly from our Republic reporter Aravali on ground.
Try and zoom into this area. There are fresh watermarks. We can see people were over here because we saw them escaping through another route, and there was a bike on the other side of this site. He was totally trying to track and monitor our movement. There was also another site where we tried to peek into, and the bulldozers, the tractors stopped moving. The time we were approaching the site, we could hear the noises and they were operational. But the moment we stepped in on the hillside from where we can get the view, they had stopped functioning. This region is very close to Mount Abu, which is the highest peak of Aravalli hill range, which is around billions of years ago, which was formed even before the human existence. And we have got to know that this area is under the jurisdiction of UIT, that is Urban Improvement Trust of Abu region. And I'm also going to walk through the another side of this patch, which is also excavated totally. And there are several such pits across the area. But this is the previous site. The work is not going on right now. But even from these area, material including stones, sand, it was mined from this region as well. Because there are the paths we can see, if we can zoom in, the paths which are made to take away all the material which is mined. When we try to talk to locals, they have told us that mining basically takes place in the night time, and then during the morning hours, dumpers, tractors, trucks carry them away. And it's very shocking to see. Usually when we are reporting the examples of illegal mining, what these mining companies do is that they take a lease of certain area and then they excavate more than that, or they go deeper above the permissible limits. But this is entirely different picture. There is no sign of lease which is being given, or there is no ML number which is provided for the area and period of lease. This is totally illegal mining. The site is very near to Mount Abu and to river called West Banas.
No intimidation will halt our reportage. This is Republic on Ground. No fear, only truth.